Hello, my name is Matthias, and welcome to the FPL Scope podcast, the Game Week 23 edition of it. And I'm here with Kevin to take you through the tips and tricks for this upcoming game week. And Kevin is here as not only himself, but as an Everton fan. We need some Everton insight because they have a double game week in game week 24. And it's pretty interesting to hear what has happened with Everton since the David Moyes has taken over and had a couple games now to show what Everton has basically with a new manager that actually can play attacking football. But either way, Kevin, how are you doing, and what are your goals? You're actually doing really well in FPL currently. How's the last few game weeks been, and how have you done so well? Like, teach us your findings. How are you so good at FPL all of a sudden?
I don't know if there's anything in particular that I'm doing that's so different. I think one of the biggest things is just following my hunches a bit more. It's cost me in the past, of course, but there's just been moments and players that, you know, are trendy, and it sucks, that you can't go a little bit ahead of the curve with, differentials and etc. But for example, I went with Chris Wood when I noticed that it looked like he was going to have an uptick in form.
Yeah.
Same with Gordon because of the home games and all this type of stuff. Obviously, Isak was the first batch of these sort of players where I was just like, oh crap, he's got a lot of good games and he's looking good. And, now Isak is one of those sort of players that everyone has. Of course, the game against Bournemouth is a complete write-off for them because no one expected Justin Kluivert to go as crazy as he did, because I know a lot of people who benched him actually. So
Yeah.
I think that's just been it, following the hunches and also seeing the popular trends of players that are just showing a very good uptick in form. And I think that's pretty much it. And I think it's just about being sensible with the transfers. Like, I think one of the main things that I did, which wasn't so great, is that I kept going minus for a bunch of these players, but they kept
Yeah,
bringing
it's worked
up the
out.
goods, and it's worked out. But lately, at the very least, because I went minus so early on, I'm actually able to save like 3 or 4 transfers as well. So,
Mm-hmm.
very happy with showing faith into certain players. The biggest one that I'm still a bit upset about, considering I've always been a fan of his, is Brian Mbeumo, of course. He's been turning it up lately and all this type of stuff, and I'm a bit sad that I didn't keep the faith. And I think that's the thing as well that's caused a lot of changes in my team, is that there's just been a lot of random injuries and stuff like that. I did it. Sold everyone straight to hell to get Saka back, and then of course within like 2 weeks of me getting him back, he got injured for 2 months. So it's just been up and down. But I think the most positive thing that I can say is just continue keeping your eye out and continue watching the games as well, because there are just a lot of players that are passing the eye test right now.
Yeah, for sure. You've done really well. You've gone past me by quite a margin as well. But you have used a couple chips already this season, triple cap and the bench boost. So
Yes.
there is like pretty close race between us two, which is pretty fun. It's been a while since we had like that the battle for the number one spot in our mini league back in, what was it, 17-18 season, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty excited for the end of the season, basically. But yeah, congrats on all your success. Let's actually go through and see at your latest success, which is this past game week, where you got 64 points, which is normally not like the best game week, but seeing as like the major captaincy choices, Salah, Palmer, and Isak all blanked, 64 is actually a really good score. And like I always say that like 60 is like where I try to aim. Like I'm happy if I get 60 points usually. Maybe not in a double game week and stuff like that, but that is a really good score. And you also made 0 transfers. Like you said, you've been able to save up some transfers and your squad is looking pretty good. There are some players that are potentially on the outs, but yeah, I think it's looking pretty good overall. And 64 points, you must be pretty happy with. So yeah, take us through your squad and how you feel about your team currently.
Yeah, generally speaking, pretty happy with the squad and happy to see some returns from players that I brought in, including Henderson and Chris Wood, obviously the biggest one. My biggest gripe has been Ismail Sarr, because I always had the enough money for Sarr to be Eze, and Eze's been doing the business, getting the goal, getting the assist, and these sort of things. And it's also been frustrating because Mateta has been on my radar for the longest time, and now, of course, he finally um, is doing the business for Crystal Palace and finding that R9 form that made him so popular last year. So, um, yeah, generally speaking, pretty, excuse me, happy with the team, but there's definitely some things that I want to change up, and especially with so many things to consider, assistant manager chip. I also believe getting the right Liverpool players in. I also believe in getting the right Everton players in too, because
Mm-hmm.
we're looking very good. I mean, it's still, you know, it's a short sample size, but from what I've seen has been really encouraging. So yeah, definitely excited to see what we can do going forward.
Yep. Looking pretty good, and we're going to get into that more later when we look at the fixture ticker and stuff and see Everton's fixtures and Liverpool's fixtures. I think that's like the main thing now, especially Liverpool, seeing as they have a good fixture against Ipswich at home this upcoming game week. A lot of people want to jump on Liverpool players now and have them for the double game week as well, and then they have Wolves at home after that. So it's looking pretty good for Liverpool, but we'll get back to that eventually. But 64 points for you, up to, what's your rank currently?
Oh, quickly have a look.
In the top
I'm
100k rank.
assuming I'm assuming this is accurate, right?
Yeah, latest rank should be pretty accurate.
82K, 82.004. So yeah, 82,004
Pretty damn
in the world.
nice. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, you have used triple captain and bench boost. Triple captain to great success. Bench boost to meh success maybe. We'll see another bench
Yeah.
booster later on today actually, because the manager of the week has used bench boost. So we'll get to discuss that. But
Mhm.
before we get to that, we have to look at Kimo's score, and he did not have quite as good of a game week as you. He got 44 points. A couple of players missing, but he had a couple of players that did really well as well. He had Wood, of course, who's been fantastic lately. 12 points from him. He was the best captaincy choice somehow this week. Robinson with 8 points and Kirkus with 7 points. But that's basically where it stopped. Also, he did not take your advice into account because he asked, should I start Rodgers or Watkins? You said Watkins. Watkins got 8 points. Rodgers got 1 point. So, yeah, should have listened to Kevin, who is the new FPL Oracle now. Sorry, that was tough to say. But I think in general, like a couple game weeks back when he brought in Watkins, we sort of thought it was going to be more of a short-term move because Duran was going to come back and stuff. But it seems like he's pretty secure as the starting striker again, Watkins. And he's actually delivering and getting points every single game week. And now they have really good fixtures coming up. So, yeah, I think that actually in hindsight now is looking like a really good move because he sold Nicholas Jackson to bring in Watkins. And Nicholas Jackson has just continued to get chances but miss chances as well, which he has done for a while now. He's a bit of a confidence player, Jackson. But yeah, I think Kimo's team is looking pretty good as well going forward. He has some nice players. Mbuemo, like we mentioned earlier. Anything you have against Kimo's team or anything you would like to change? Obviously not the best game week, but is there anything you think that's like a flaw here? Any players he's missing? Maybe Liverpool and Everton
I
players?
mean, the biggest flaw is benching the more expensive asset of Watkins for Rodgers. I still don't fully understand the reasoning behind it because
Yeah.
Rodgers is so synonymous with also Watkins doing well because he's always the one who usually gets the assist to the Watkins goal and stuff like that. So
Mm-hmm.
uh, besides that, I can't really fault him too much. I think the team looks pretty good. I think it was a very ballsy move to start Carrigash against Newcastle when they're playing out of their skin. So
Yep.
kudos for you for that. But generally speaking, I think I like the team. It looks very good. It's just a question of whether he needs to bring in some more Liverpool or Everton assets, depending on what he's fancying.
Yeah.
I think his strikers are perfect as it is. Wood
Yeah.
looks good, Isak looks good, and Watkins looks good, especially in terms of the long term. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, obviously, Wood, you could argue less so because of their fixtures and etc. But he's such a form player that once he starts losing that form again, was just to quickly ship him. So yeah, I think the team looks good. Just unfortunate with the Watkins thing, but I'm not gonna complain because I gained points on him. So
Yeah. fair enough. You're ahead of him as well. He's it's pretty close between the three of us actually in our separate mini league as well. So it's going to be exciting to see for the rest of the season. Kimo also has all chips remaining, so he has an advantage there. And I think his team is looking pretty good. He has Mikolenko as the Everton player. He has Salah as the Liverpool player, but that's all that he has. So I think Liverpool players especially is the main priority for Kimo now, as we'll get to when we look at his plans for the next few game weeks or the next game week. So yeah, I think that's like the main thing, but I think it's looking pretty good. I think Robinson and Kirkus are basically just like almost season keepers at this point. Like they are so good, especially if you have money invested in them already. They're looking really good. Kirkus is going to get a lot of good fixtures eventually, and also he might be playing in blank game week 29 and still doubling in game week 33 as well, which would be a huge plus, obviously, for any chip strategy you'd like to do. And yeah, for anyone that hasn't seen it already, I posted a video with some chip strategies earlier this week, looking through the managers of the week from the past game weeks that I didn't get to cover because I had my arm broken and I was nursing that. But now we're fully back. We're also going to go back to doing Manager of the Week content, or we have done for the past 2 weeks. And the next up on the program for today basically is the Manager of the Week this week, which is not actually Gary Hendricks because I forgot to change the name. So I'm going to change the name in post. I'm going to quickly double check on what the name actually is of the Manager of the Week. And then, yeah, I'm going to go through the team. But looking at the team straight away, bench boost has been used, actually, but not to great effect. Because first of all, Enzo was scheduled not to play. We already knew pre-game week that he was most likely, or he was missing in training at least. The transfer was made to bring in Sells as the backup goalkeeper to just get some points. He got 1 point sadly against Southampton, kind of unlucky there. And then Masraoui got 1 point, not the best, but then Kirkus saved at least a little bit from the bench boost. But yeah, I think that's like my main thing with this squad, that obviously it's a huge score. 38 points from Foden captain, 104 points is absolutely amazing. But yeah, I think the bench boost is sort of unnecessary, and he would have been, or they would have been, whatever, manager of the week, regardless of the bench boost or not. So yeah, great captaincy choice, not so great chip choice in my opinion. But yeah, what do you think about the team in general? Because this is a bit different than what it usually is.
Yeah, I think it's a very inspired choice in Foden. Yet another one of those sort of players that I mentioned, has been in disgustingly good form as of late. So kudos to him for going with a sort of out there captaincy choice. I like the Kulusevski pick as well because he is still one of Spurs' brighter points this season, despite everything. And genuinely, even though I was angry at Pickford at first, it's still a brilliant goal that he scored because he basically lobs a bunch of defenders in scoring as well. So very inspired picks. Maybe a bit weird to do the bench boost the way he did it, because technically even my bench boost beat this. So, so yeah. But other than that, I think the team looks a bit pretty good. I'm just wondering, as you might be, what his considerations is for Liverpool and Everton's double game week if he's going to bring in some more assets. Because currently I only see Salah as a Liverpool asset and 0 Everton assets, and we're still playing Leicester, so you could still play Mikolenko and all this type of stuff. So yeah, I think it's just that needs to be addressed. But considering that they have 3 chips left and all this type of stuff, sky's the limit. So well done. 100 points is very impressive. That's 40 points more than me. So
yeah, it's kind of crazy, and it's also interesting to see still like Spurs players involved, which is kind of crazy as well. Yeah, that's yeah, but Kulusevski worked out 9 points from him. That's really good. And Foden, obviously the big like boost there. You talked about as well on chat with me that you wish you had Foden. Obviously, you wish so because he's been so good lately. But yeah, he's been in terrific form. But now, sadly, his fixtures are getting a bit worse. But City are also the kind of team that can score against anyone as well. And I think they will continue to concede against everyone. So I think Foden still is like a decent pick to have, and I would definitely not sell him if I had him, just because he gets some tougher fixtures. I think Chelsea at home next week is also pretty good. So yeah, kudos for the really strange, or not strange, but like the unusual captaincy pick in Foden. But it was a good captaincy pick even before the game week as well, because he had really good fixture. And yeah, that really catapulted the manager to the top spot in the manager of the week, basically. And this is actually a Polish manager as well. So the name is going to be tough to pronounce, but it's going to be on your screen because I'm going to edit this in post. But it is Zbigniew Rezko from Poland, I assume. I think I actually saw the Polish flag earlier. So yeah, game week rank of 559 in the world, which is super high. That's really, really good. So yeah, not really too much at fault here. Obviously, Trent Alexander-Arnold is like the one missing link, I guess. But yeah, other than that, and the bench boost like not being ideal in this game week, can't really fault anything with this manager either. So yeah, congrats to the manager of the week. And if you guys watching want to be manager of the week at the FPL Scope podcast or in one of my videos whenever we don't make the podcast, you can join the FPL Scope mini league with the league code hpxeri. And if you get the highest score in a game week, you will get featured on the podcast. So yeah, that's manager of the week. And now we're done with the scores from this past week, and we're going to look ahead to the next upcoming game weeks. So we're going to take a look at the fixture ticker for the next, basically, 5 game weeks here, and including the double game week in GW24. And the two teams that are playing in the double game week, not surprisingly, are the two teams with the best fixtures because they have an extra fixture to give themselves some points. And that's Liverpool and Everton. And as you can see with Liverpool, they both have the best fixtures, and they also have the best expected goals and expected goals conceded at the last 6 game weeks. So even though they have sort of struggled a bit with results, they have been super good when it comes to like the underlying stats and stuff. And they still look really, really good. So yeah, tripling up on Liverpool seems like a really good idea, especially for these next 3 game weeks. Even the next 4, I think Man City for attacking players should still be good. So yeah, and then Southampton game week 28 as well. So they just have really good fixtures in general. So yeah, Liverpool first and foremost. What players do you think are like the main priorities to have? I think like Salah and Trent, which we both have, is like the main 2. I think we would agree on that. But then the third player, what do you think is like the best third option to choose out of all the Liverpool players there?
I think Cody Gakpo seems to be the starting striker now, considering he was rested midweek and all this type of stuff. So I still think, and he should have 100% scored in the previous game, where Salah gives him like an open cut chance, and I don't understand what Gakpo tried to do. So yeah, Hakpo should be the other player in consideration. If you don't have the money for Trent, obviously Konate is looking back in form and etc. I think Alisson's always a good pick if you just want to have a stable goalkeeper and someone who'll play every game. But I'd say the biggest third player you can use is Gakpo because I think his playtime under the Dutch Arne Slot is secured. So he seems to love his countrymen. So fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I would tend to agree as well. I'm sort of in that conundrum myself. I could go for Alisson because I want to sell Sanchez because he faces City. But I also just really want Gakpo, and I have Joao Pedro, who has just been super annoying to have in the squad in general, even though he's probably going to score now against Everton if I sell him. But I think Gakpo as well is the one that I'm eyeing. I think Darwin is obviously going to get some minutes, but I think that more affects Luis Diaz because Gakpo doesn't really play as a striker. He plays more as like the left winger to cut inside and potentially score some goals. So yeah, and with Jota not really fully fit, he's not in it for Game 23 at least, and Game 24 I think is a bit uncertain whether you should play or not Jota. I think Gakpo is also a really good pick, but I wouldn't really be opposed to the double up with Konate and Trent as well in defense, alongside Salah obviously, who is the main captaincy choice for both Game 23 and the next 2 game weeks after that. I think Salah is still potentially the best captaincy choice out of them all. So yeah, that's Liverpool basically. Let's move down to Everton, which you have a bit of expertise in because you're obviously an Everton fan. You watch every single Everton game, both under Sean Dyche, despite how boring that was, and now under David Moyes. So just first and foremost, just in general, what's the first few things that you've noticed with Everton under David Moyes that is different from what Everton looked like under Sean Dyche?
I think the main thing which you spoke about is one's playing attacking football, the other was playing, I don't even know what the fuck to call Dyche football because we weren't even that good defensively. So, and I think that's the main thing. I think the sort of play to Calvert-Lewin, like looks so much better because it was very route one, lump the ball to Calvert-Lewin, hope he, extends the play and all this type of stuff. But here it seems to be more of a build-up. We get to see the best out of the wingers. Everyone's sort of getting involved. Man, even Jake O'Brien is getting more playtime under Moyes than I think all minutes collectively with Dyche. It's not true, but it feels like that because I loved what I got to see from Jake O'Brien. And I just think Everton just looks so much better under Moyes. I think 1-0 to Aston Villa was quite flattering to Aston Villa in the first game because
Hmm.
classic Calvert-Lewin was missing all the chances and all
Yeah.
this type of stuff, but he very much rectified against Spurs where he looked phenomenal and looked great.
Hmm.
He looked like a man who wants to leave the club and get a big move. So fair enough to him. If he can deliver the goods, then go for it. And I think it's very exciting to see that Everton are doing this without our main creative player in Dwight McNeil as well. And whenever he's back, I think Everton will look very, very good and more than enough to keep us up and everything. So I think, yeah, I know a lot of people have been burned by Calvert-Lewin before, especially when we had an easier sort of run of games. But
Yep.
considering that he's also now the same price as Skilliman and DI, so it's just you gotta you just gotta trust sort of Moyes rather than Everton itself, if that makes sense. Because I think Moyes has really made us look good. I'm genuinely serious when I say that we could have easily drawn against Aston Villa. Maybe not win, even though we had the chances to win, and if we were putting them away, we would have. But I I like what I see of this Everton side so much so that I think we could actually draw against Liverpool, which under Dyche I would have said we'd 100% lose. So um, I'd say in terms of assets, Mikolenko is always great. A Tarkowski, who always plays every game, or Pickford is also good. I genuinely believe that I'll give Calvert-Lewin the slight nod over Skilliman, even though Skilliman's the one who can create a chance by himself.
Hmm.
Calvert-Lewin's still on penalties, and if they're the same price, you might as well go with the player who can take the penalties. And
Yeah.
yeah, because we're playing attacking football, I think it's just gonna generate more and more um, goals, better performances, and I think with Leicester as one of the games as well, it looks good.
Yep. So yeah, I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin has actually registered 5 big chances in the last 2 games under David Moyes,
Yeah,
which
that's what I
is
mean.
kind of
That's what I'm
crazy. Two
saying.
and a half per game.
Yeah,
So yeah, if he keeps that up, like even though he misses quite a few chances, he's going to get points from that and goals from that, and especially also with the penalties. And also playing Leicester at home, that's such a good game. Leicester are
yeah.
terrible; like they're losing every single game now,
Hmm.
and by quite a lot as well. So I think that's really good. On top of that, but yeah, also defensively or the rest of the team, has there been any changes in terms of fullbacks pushing up or like anyone else looking better under Moyes, or is it sort of like the same type of system now, further back in the
It, it
pitch?
it seems to be yeah, it seems to be better. It seems to look much better now. Mikolenko seems to be a bit more. I mean, I always felt that Mikolenko was always incorporated well under the Dyche thing. That's like one of the reasons why I've had Mikolenko in the team.
Mm.
Um, but I think he seems a little bit more Bainesy, and of course, having Leighton Baines as part of the backroom staff has helped in terms of that,
Yeah.
in the sense that he seems to be a lot more attacking. There seems to be a lot more freedom. Of course, right hand side's a little bit iffy because Ashley Young is 50 years old, and
Yeah, it's been a great FPL player this season though.
yeah, and
Easily enough.
Jake O'Brien. I thought Jake O'Brien looked great as a sort of makeshift right back. So
Hmm.
I would say in terms of attacking threats, of course, Tarkowski's always looks good in the corners, and we still look good from corners. Obviously, we scored from a corner,
Yep.
and yeah, well, I mean, technically, it was a crazy, stupid own goal, but we'll take it. Um, So yeah, I'm just very pleased. It's all looking very positive in terms of what I've seen. I much preferred our loss to Aston. Like, even though we lost both games to Aston Villa, right? One
Mm-hmm.
we lost when we were 2-0 up. The other we just lost just flat out. And it's encouraging to say just how different we looked comparatively to the loss we did, a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if we felt destined to lose that game, the other game, it felt like an unfair result. That's just so telling. And then for us to go and win it against Spurs, of course,
Yep.
they're riddled with injuries, and Big Ange Impostakoglu should maybe be sacked, but again, could be just poison chalice sort of situation. But we looked honestly really good against Spurs, and I
Mm-hmm.
think once he gets the defense going a bit better, we're gonna be able to see out more games and collect more wins. Because, like, if you think about it, I'm pretty sure we have 4 wins this season, which is embarrassing that Moyes in 2 games has got a win, and I don't know how many games Big Dyche got and only was able to scramble 3 wins. We have
18 league
eight
games.
draws. 8 draws.
Yeah.
Those 8 draws are going to eventually become wins because we're able to keep a clean sheet and or defensively be a bit more sound, or even just offensively be able to grab the goals that we need to win games. So it looks good. I really hope Beto gets to stay. He's one of the players rumored out, and I think he should, under Moyes, be the sort of player that he likes. He loves a big striker who,
Yeah.
who
Seems
can
like a bit of
score
a Moyes striker.
goals. Yeah, so yeah, I really hope he gets to stay and play because I think he still has a part to play at this club. I see a lot of people are like pissy about him and stuff like that, but Dyche completely screwed him over. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's fair enough. So yeah, Everton looking pretty good. Are you looking to invest in Everton players yourself, or are you staying away since you've had some bad experiences with that this season? You sort of cursed them earlier in the season, I remember.
it all depends really. I'm happy to go without. I'm happy to go with.
Mm-hmm.
Am I gonna go cheeky David Moyes as my assistant manager? Maybe, yeah. If
Yeah,
especially if we beat Leicester big as well, could be the one.
yeah. Also, Crystal Palace.
So
If I think if Palace win against Brent, yeah, they play Brentford. If they beat Brentford, they pass Brentford in the table and would be 5 places exactly above you as well. So you would get the bonus against Crystal Palace. If that's still the case after your 2 games against Leicester and Liverpool, that is. But you're also 4 points behind Spurs, I think. So I don't think. Yeah, I think
unless
there there
Spurs
is there
are a
is a case
free
to be
for
made.
all.
You could be 5 places below Palace before you play them in Gaming 25.
Yeah. Yeah, unless like Spurs completely go in free, lose. I mean, no, they technically, yeah, we can. Even if they win, yeah, we won't be able to reach them unless, yeah. So yeah, I reckon you'll be all right. But of course, if you want to play it safe, which makes perfect sense, you'd go with Arne Slot as your assistant manager. But there are a lot of fun options and choices there to pick, because even if Amorim was able to get things going again, some of the teams that he will be facing are ahead of them in the table and stuff like that, which is
Yeah.
pretty crazy. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what I end up doing or picking
Mm.
in regards to that. But I do think I'm going to be loading up with a few Everton and Liverpool players. I mean, I already have a bunch of Liverpool assets. I already have Mikolenko,
Mm-hmm.
so it's just a question of who I'll end up picking. If McNeil was back, I'd 100% sell fucking Sar straight for good old McNeil.
Yeah.
But we have to see. I want to see what the latest is. Dwight McNeil.
Dwight McNeil. But yeah, the last thing I want to talk about with you as you check McNeil is actually the
Mhm.
team at the bottom of the fixture ticker, Man City. They have really tough fixtures, but like I said previously, they can score against really good teams as well. But I also want to talk about their newest signing, Marmoush from Frankfurt, who's looking really good.
Mhm.
We've also seen players from Frankfurt in the past sort of fall short whenever they've gone to a different club, but yeah, he's pretty
Mhm.
exciting. So yeah, have you found the McNeil stat yet, or what you're looking for? or his
Uh,
injury return?
he, he just did a cryptic Instagram story where it was like my favorite kit, when we destroyed Brighton to
Oh yeah,
stay up. So maybe he's trying to say that he's back for the
yeah.
Brighton game. I'm not 100% sure.
That was away as well, wasn't it? Like the 5-1 Brighton win.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's
It was
crazy.
completely, I mean, uncalled for in the sense of being a Brighton supporter and stuff like that. But, I fucking loved it. So, yeah.
Who was your manager back then? Was it Lampard or was it Benitez?
It's bad when
Ancelotti?
even I don't remember who the
Sean
fuck it
Dyche?
was. Feel like he might have been
Dyche?
Dyche.
It's crazy
Yeah,
if that's the case,
yeah.
but yeah. But either way, I want to know what you think about Marmoush on City because he just joined the game as well. He's actually priced and listed as a forward this season for 7.0. He's basically going into that Julian Alvarez spot for Man City, who plays striker whenever Haaland's not ready to play or whenever he gets rested. But otherwise, I think he's going to play sort of like behind the striker. He can also play on the wing as well. So yeah, he's a bit versatile, Marmoush, but yeah, we know him pretty well, and Kimo, obviously, who's the third founding member of the FPL podcast, as an Egyptian, knows him pretty well as well. But what do you feel about Marmoush in the Premier League, and do you think he can make like an instant impact despite the tough fixtures and being a new City player, or you think he's more like a wait and see for next season type of player?
It all depends on how stupid Guardiola is. So, um, I mean that as politely as I can say it, because Omar Marmoush is like an elite baller. If you think about it, like just ball figure here, okay? Okay. In 26 games in all comps for Frankfurt, tell me his goals and assists. How many goals do you think he has, and how many assists do you think he has?
Is that in total, or is that last season, or when was it?
This current
This
season
current
in
season,
26
26
games,
matches overall in all competitions.
all comps.
Was it 17 goals, 11 assists?
If it was 17 goals and 11 assists, it'd be pretty good, right?
Yeah,
He has 20 goals and 14 assists.
exactly. Yeah,
And he plays for a
trio.
pretty shit Frankfurt side. No offense, but
Yeah,
and imagine bringing that to City with the sort of X factor that he has. Because if you look, this guy's been winning Player of the Month in Bundesliga over the likes of like Harry Kane, Openda, and so many Benjamin Sesko. Like there's so many world class talent in the Bundesliga, and this guy, even over Florian Wirtz and stuff like that, like he has been playing at an exceptional level. So if Guardiola knows what's good, he'll play him straight away. Because I don't think Grealish, even though he looked great against PSG
yeah.
in yesterday's game and stuff like that, he's been kind of up and down his entire City career. Doku is very good in very particular matches. I think Doku is actually fantastic, but
Against Ipswich, for
do I
example.
think, yeah, but do I believe that Marmoush is someone who should be playing every single game? Yeah, 100%. I
Okay.
think he's
So
someone like even if you don't play him down the middle, play him down the left. He's that good that
yeah,
he can excel in that role. He's that good that he could even excel in the right wing position. Like he's just that good. I completely understand why City bought him, and they're clever to buy him before a potential transfer bet anyway. So,
yeah.
I think it's an exceptional signing. 7.5 seems like or 7, sorry,
7.0, yeah.
seems like a really reasonable price. It's sort of similar to what Alvarez was at one point, and I think we're going to see him, especially when Holland's struggling and stuff like that. We'll
Mm-hmm.
definitely get to see him play down the middle some more.
Yeah. Do you think it
I
will affect Holland's
personally
minutes?
no, but
No.
I think maybe in regards to like if he's coming off the bench and
If they're
stuff like
leading like
that. Like
6
he
0 or
really
something.
yeah, like I feel like he should be starting with alongside Holland and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he could become a factor this season. It's just a
Yeah.
question of when and how quickly they want to integrate him. And seriously, considering the Champions League bullshit that they're going through, I I hope for City's sake that they start letting him play straight away.
Yeah, and there's also a good sign that he did get number 7 as a kit number. So yeah, that tells you something about how much faith they have in him. Like he's
Yeah,
probably going to be like a main guy for City, at least at some point. It takes a bit of a while for like new attacking players to be like the main guys for Pep in City. We've
yeah.
seen that in the past at least. But yeah, like you, I think he can definitely just step in straight away and do a really good job. He's in fantastic form this season. Like been really good. Like I said, 20 goals. Only 4 of them from penalties as well. Like it's not like he's had like a massive amount from penalties. So yeah, he's fantastic and can play, like you said, in a couple different positions. So yeah, he's going to be an exciting player for sure. But I think as of now, with all the fixtures that City have, pretty tough fixtures: Chelsea at home, Arsenal away, Newcastle at home, Liverpool at home, Spurs away, which isn't that tough, and Nottingham Forest away. You can sort of wait until around like Gaming 29, Gaming 30. Gaming 29 is going to be really interesting in terms of free hit because City will have some awful matches going into that. But Gaming 29, I think they have like Brighton at home or something like that. So yeah, it sort of lends itself a bit to using the free hit. So you can bring in 3 City players. And Marmoush might be one of those players that you want to consider for that game week. So yeah, definitely someone to consider for the future, basically. But yeah, but not right now, in my opinion. You still have to wait a little bit for City to get easier matches. But let's take a look at the players that I think you should consider right now, and that is the players in the weekly wildcard drafts, which is a video that I make every single game week. This season, I've tried to at least. It was a bit tougher when I had just broken my arm. But anyways, I made a video earlier this week with the squad that I think is currently the best squad to have in Fantasy Premier League for the next few game weeks. And also you have to keep in mind that this is a wildcard squad, so this is assuming you would use your wildcard, which means that you don't have your wildcard to use in Gaming 30 or Gaming 35 like most people are looking to do. So this squad is with free hit in Gaming 29 in mind, which is why it has so many Newcastle, Palace, and those types of players that do play in 29. But yeah, if you want to see like the full breakdown of all the players, then you can check out the video with all the 11 players and my reasoning for picking all of them. I have 5 new players since last time. That is Pickford in goal, who's new because of the double game week. Trent Alexander-Arnold in defense. I brought him in for Konate. Kirkus came into the defense rather than Robinson because I think Bournemouth are just better long term than Fulham. Also brought in Kluivert as the final midfielder there because again the fixtures for Bournemouth are going to pick up pretty soon and they are looking really good. And I think Kluivert, I think that's actually where I want to start. Gakpo is the final new player in the team, but Justin Kluivert, we've known of him for a long time. He's obviously the son of Patrick Kluivert, the Barcelona legend, and we knew he was a huge talent way back in the day, Kluivert, and now it seems like he's finally breaking out and looking like a potential like super good player in the Premier League. He has 2 hat-tricks this season, one from all penalties, one from all open goals this past game against Newcastle. It seems like he's playing a bit of a different role now since Evan Nilsson and Enes Wijnaldum got injured. So yeah, what do you think of Kluivert long term? Do you think the 22 points, obviously you can't expect that many points each week, but do you think that was sort of indicative of what you can expect in terms of him being a lot better asset now, or do you think he's still going to be like a middling, not so good asset going forward in FPL?
No, I think it's fine to consider him, especially that he's on penalties and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
too. So I think especially with Evan Nilsson and Enes being out for as long as they are, Kluivert and Semenyo are good choices
Mm-hmm.
from a Bournemouth side that have surprised everyone. I mean, of course, I'm the person who wrote the Iraola review what was
Last
it?
season, before last season.
It feels like he's been here for like 5 years now, but
Second season.
because he's really made himself a household name in the Prem
Yeah.
to the point where people are like, oh, Spurs should make him their manager and stuff like that. So very high praise for the guy, and I actually very much rate what he's been doing there. I think
Yep.
Kluivert is a good pick. I just think maybe the next 2 weeks look a bit ugh. So
Yeah.
if you already have Kluivert, stash him on the bench. But
I
if
mean,
you,
Newcastle away looked a bit, ugh, and he got 22 points.
of course, but like that's still, we all feel like that was a bit of an anomaly to
Yeah.
the point, like in the
Wasn't
way that
undeserved
they
either.
won.
Like they deserved to win that much.
It wasn't an undeserved win. No. But it was sort of like when you consider how good Newcastle have been lately, it feels like a real misfire from them to lose that badly at home.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I believe Nottingham Forest, it's not always the easiest game. Liverpool definitely might it will be a tough game. But going forward past that, yeah, I mean, I see the appeal, and especially once they get their games going, for sure. I think Kluivert is more than a justifiable pick in regards to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I picked him as my 15th player because I'm still unsure. And also, like you said, the next two fixtures aren't the best, but this was more like a long-term sort of view. So yeah, I picked him right ahead of Amadeo instead, who also doesn't really have the best of fixtures straight away either. So yeah, I think Kluivert is a really interesting player, and I think you can use, if you're not on a wildcard, I think you can use the next two game weeks to sort of gauge how he looks and how Bournemouth looks without the strikers now in place, and that could give you a pretty good indication of if you should bring him in for the Southampton fixture in game week 25 there. So yeah, I think he's a pretty interesting name. The next one as well I want to talk about, obviously, is Gakpo. We've already mentioned him a bit. Do you think he's like a priority transfer now, or do you think you can wait until game 24 to bring him in potentially? How do you see his fixture against Ipswich, for example?
Sorry, it cut off a little bit. You said Gakpo, right?
Yeah. Like, do you think it's a priority to bring him in now, or would you wait for the
Yeah,
whole game
100%.
week?
Absolutely, 100%. Oh my
Yeah.
God. What is the one rule, Matthias?
Target Ipswich.
Yes, fucking terrible team.
Yeah.
So yeah, of course. I think especially if you have the funds and you don't have to bend over backwards for him, 100%. I think
Mm-hmm.
targeting Ipswich is perfect, especially when West Ham, Liverpool are playing at home.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like if I had my triple captaincy chip still, I would triple captain Salah against them. Like especially considering the fact
Rather
that
than the
he's
whole game week.
yeah, because that's how bad Ipswich is. And hey, I did, as someone who did triple captain against Ipswich for a hat trick, Holland hat trick, like, yeah, man, I hate Ipswich. I don't even hate them. I just think they're shit.
So you think triple captaincy would be better used against Ipswich at home than the double game week against Bournemouth and Everton away?
Yeah, I genuinely believe that.
Okay, that'll be interesting to see. That's a hot take. That's not
Yeah.
what I'm going to do. I'm going to triple captain him in the double game week just because he has extra chance for points. Salah can score against anyone,
Sure.
but yeah, it is kind of two like tough-ish away games, especially the last Goodison Park Merseyside derby. That's pretty special. So yeah, but we've seen him score against Everton in the past, so that could happen. Bournemouth,
We have.
it's going to be an interesting game. I think Bournemouth at home to Liverpool, that's going to be really interesting to see. There's how good both Bournemouth and Liverpool are, so that's going to be an interesting fixture in general. Another player that I want to talk about as well that is in the squad, who has been sort of sold by quite a lot of people this past game week because he has looked a bit worse now. That's Cole Palmer. I still have him as the number 3 pick. I still think he is like a pretty important player to have, especially with West Ham at home. I think he's going to smash that fixture. And also Brighton, the same team that he scored 4 times against in the first half last time. And then even City, like I've seen people bench him now for City or thinking about benching him for the City match. I think that's crazy because City are not the best.
Storyline as well, man. You don't bench
It's
Cole
true.
Palmer on a storyline game like that. No
Yeah.
way.
So what do you feel about Palmer in general? Is he someone that you're still looking at as like a season keeper, or is he someone that you could potentially sell pretty soon? Like he has like tougher fixtures eventually, but like what do you think about Palmer as an FPL asset for like the long term especially?
I mean, I had Palmer for that game that you mentioned. So, to me, he's so automatic that, like, things people forget about the Wolves highlights or Wolves game, sorry, is, I know a lot of people probably who didn't watch the game saw the highlights and went like, oh, Palmer had one shot. And, ugh. But, like, I could tell from, like, a lot of people who watched the full game he's played through injury. Maresca is that much of a chicken shit that he'll play Palmer through injury.
Yeah.
So it's not really that surprising that he was like running a little bit gingerly and all this type of stuff.
Yeah.
And Saw did a really good.
He sort of got injured mid game as well. Really nasty tackle from Andre.
Yeah, and Saw also did a really good save in a good shot that he took. So like, I think Palmer's a season keeper. I mean, if Maresca was a better manager, he would have gotten the best out of Nkunku.
Yeah,
and that's
started him in that
truth be
game.
told. Yeah, and truth be told, the only reason we doubted Palmer in the beginning of the season is the fact that it's such a big price differential between him and
Nkunku, yeah.
Palmer. Otherwise, we all would have gone with Palmer from the beginning. And I think going forward, as long as Palmer plays in the Premier League, we're probably always going to have him because he's just that good of a football player, and
Yeah.
it's absolutely insane. I don't think I'm in the Palmer out train. The only way I'd be in the Palmer out train is if Haaland's back to scoring hat tricks left and right, and we need
Mm-hmm.
to like free up the funds. But
Yep.
other than that, like I lose almost like 5 million if I sell him now. So like I'm or not 5 million, 0.5 million,
0.5 million, yeah.
which would that would hurt. Like that'd be
Yeah.
really hard to bring him back for. So I'm sticking with him. I think benching him against City, don't do that.
They just
I
didn't
I
afford to
complete.
PSG as well.
Yeah, like they're. I mean, Everton drew against them, and so
Yeah.
why
Everton
can't
scored
Chelsea?
against them
So
with
yeah,
Dyche.
that's true. Yeah, of all goddamn teams and players, but that's Gilliman for you. But
Yeah. Skip it,
I think I think one of the main things about that is that he's just too automatic. He's also like we have no issues having to worry about him in Europe or anything like that. They're
Yeah.
out of a bunch of cups as well. I think it's only the FA Cup technically they're a part of because yeah, they went out of the League Cup too.
Newcastle, I think.
My brother Alexander Isak. So
Yep.
yeah, I think Palmer is still automatic. I think people are just freaking out for no reason.
Yeah, I would totally agree, and that's why I have him still as number 3. I dropped him down behind Isak, but yeah, I think the top 3 is pretty much just a given now. Until, like you said,
Mhm.
until Haaland starts scoring left and right, I don't think there's any issues with keeping Palmer. But yeah, obviously, when they go into the knockout stages of the Conference League, he's going to be playing there, so that he's going to get some matches there eventually. And they're still in the FA Cup as well in the 4th round against Brighton, I think. Brighton away, which is a pretty tough fixture in the 4th round. So we'll see what happens there as well with them. But regardless, I think Palmer is just like a mainstay until he's like proven thoroughly otherwise. And I don't think he has currently because, yeah, he is slightly injured and there are some like changes to the lineups and stuff that has sort of hampered him a bit, but he's still the penalty taker. We know how many penalties they got last season. And he's still such a good player, and he'll always pop up and score some goals. So yeah, quite like Palmer as well. So yeah, in general, I think this is a pretty strong team myself. There are a lot of good candidates, actually. Like it's pretty hard to pick a team now. I think there's quite a few good options. I think we're sort of heading into that point of the season where we sort of crystallize and we know which players and which teams are the best to target, basically. Like we have so much more information about which teams are actually good and which players are actually playing every single minute for every game, in every game for every team. So yeah, I think that's a pretty important information to have now. But yeah, looking at the squad, anything you would do differently? Any players that you have like question marks about? Any players you would like to see in the squad in general? Any comments in general with the team?
No, I think this team looks as good as it can get. I mean, the only thing that maybe even though I'm not in love with Crystal Palace in that regards, I think Eze deserves at least like on the cusp sort
Yeah,
of nom because if you think about it, like it's a goal assist like he's getting one or the other quite frequently now, and
yeah,
it seems like he's trying to get his big move before January's over. No, but he's definitely he feels like someone who's going to be on the move. Yeah, I think he deserves a little bit more of a mention. But besides that, I think this is as good as it gets, especially considering budgetary reasons and all this type of stuff. So
yep,
yeah, I think it's fine. I would. Yeah, I would argue like a McNeil if he was fit, because I just think he's going to be exactly what Everton need to continue keeping us up, and
yeah.
he is just a good asset when he's fit.
Yeah, maybe if he's fit to play now against Brighton, maybe McNeil for the next 2 game weeks and then Kluivert after that. Could be a
Yeah,
nice tactic there. So yeah, that's definitely
yeah,
something to
because you
consider.
get because you get 3 games out of him too, if that
Hmm.
in that sort of space as well. So he could easily make up whatever Kluivert does between Forest and Liverpool as well.
Yeah, for sure. So this is sort of like ish the ideal team. So let's look at your team
Hmm.
comparatively and see how you can get closer to this team, or maybe you have some other plans. But yeah, let's go ahead to your plans for this game week. And I've sort of just like made the potential transfers for you a bit. You have mentioned that you sort of want to get rid of Fernandes. You're sort of getting annoyed with him, and he plays Fulham away, and Fulham are actually looking at the numbers, pretty good defensively lately. They're also getting Sandeberge back pretty soon, who's going to help them even more in that regard. It is a tough match, Fulham away, so I think this is like a decent fixture to jump off of him potentially, but I still like Bruno Fernandes. I still think he's a good option, but doing that would also give you enough money, I think, for Joao Pedro to Gakpo. If you can't do that already, I'm not sure if you can actually. Maybe you can do that already. But the only issue I sort of have with the potential transfers that I've set up for you is that it would be tough for who to bench, I guess. You've mentioned that you don't really like Sarr, but who would you bench to bring in Gakpo then, I guess? Or would you just bench Mbeumo and just have him for like later game weeks because he plays Palace away? Like, what would be your bench option, or who would you bench if you did those two transfers, do you think?
Palmer, no, just kidding. It would be potentially a Sarr or
Would even?
if I could I bench Lewis again because I hate Lewis so much? Just kidding.
You need to bench an attacker because Joe Pedro.
I know, I'm joking. I was just talking that I just hate. Just the sight of Lewis is annoying me.
Yeah.
But I think it's a tough one because Sarr, I think, has also been super unlucky not to get more points. But I think it would be Sarr, to be honest, because I gotta play the Newcastle boys against Southampton because Southampton are just dog shit. And was it last year where my Bernino thing happened? It was against Southampton, wasn't it? No, it wasn't Southampton. They weren't there last year. That was Sheffield. I don't remember. But either way, Southampton sucked. So, yeah, I got to play all three of those. I'm obviously, if I get Gakpo in, there's no way I'm benching him. So, I would play him. I think I would play Wood regardless. Yeah. And even if I sold Wood, because selling Wood for Mateta, if I get, for example, let's say that's what I end up doing. Instead of getting Mbeumo in, or if I do get Mbeumo, let's say I do 3 transfers.
Okay.
I sell Wood as well to get Mateta. I think I would actually bench Mbeumo and Sarr to start the other 2.
Okay.
So I'd play, what would I play then? 3, 4, 3? 3, 4, 3, maybe. No, wait. Mateta would start. So I'd bench Sarr, play Mbeumo maybe? Yeah?
Oh, yeah. You can't actually afford those 2 transfers either because you have. I thought you had more in the bank for Joao Pedro to Gakpo. That costs you quite a bit of money. So you would actually have to downgrade Fernandes more, I think. You'd have 7.3 to buy for. Is that enough? Maybe that is enough, actually.
Fucking asshole. What?
7.3 you would have to buy a midfielder. So
7.3. Dwight McNeil, baby.
Yeah, you don't have enough for.
Shut up.
Mbeumo, sorry. Could go Martinelli. Could go Eze, like you mentioned, rather than Sarr. Double up on that.
Yep. Could also just bring in Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, Kulusevski. Potentially. No. You have some good fixtures. Leicester at home this game week.
Wait a second.
Rather than
no, bring in Son. Oh, Mitoma always scores against Everton. So.
Yeah. Kudus, no. Definitely not.
Well, when if my brother was back.
Or you could go with someone like Rodgers, for example. Get him back. Bench him so you get a lot of points for me when I start him.
Never again.
Amad Diallo, there's quite a few options there, I guess. But
of course, there are a lot of midfield options and all this stuff, but I don't know. I have to have a think because I could always downgrade a cheeky Lewis to some defender who plays, or Verbruggen potentially for a goalkeeper, like a cheaper goalkeeper. Because how much is Gakpo?
Good question. He is.
Let's have a look. Let me, if I quickly have a
7.5. And Joao Pedro is 5.6, I think. So you need 2 million to do that. So you'll be 1.1 million away if you do that. by itself.
Can you just be my friend for a second? Why are you hating on my dreams and my entire life? Just what did I do to you? Bowen 7.3. Let me see here.
So yeah, but you don't really need to start the player they bring in either. So you could also bring in Kluivert for that matter and not start him and start Sar still. Could be a good move for you as well. Or Semenyo for that matter, if you prefer him. There's a lot of options, a lot of cheap options in general. Amad Diallo, Semenyo, Kluivert, Rogers, Goats.
Semenyo. What did I say? Gakpo and Weber's. Okay, hold on.
McNeil if he's fit to play. Or you can just bench him this week and have him for the double if he's ready for that.
Maybe I should bring in Joelinton. 7.8. Ryan, what's going on? You have to
sell a Newcastle player for that.
I could sell Rico Lewis for a 4.0 defender. Let's go.
Yeah, I guess. Now would you afford that?
And still get him by Mong. No, genuinely, I could do that, but then I can't get in the assistant manager, which would be...
Oh, yeah. If you want to do assistant manager, that's the thing. You have enough for Moyes now with 0.9 in the bank, but yeah. I don't know if I would probably...
What's with the long sigh? Why? What is...
Considering you have already used triple captain and bench boost, I would just save assistant manager for game week 33 or game week 36.
Oh, save it. Save it.
Yeah,
fuck you.
I think that'll be better. Unless you get really lucky with Everton table position. If Everton are like 5 places behind Palace and then 5 places behind Man United after that, then yeah, maybe. But other than that, I think you should just save it for later on, basically.
I'm going to bring in James McAtee. Let's go.
Yeah, but regardless, your squad in general, it looks pretty good apart from your transfer dealings. So yeah, maybe, I don't know, if you keep João Pedro, would you start him against Everton, or do you think João Pedro is just done? You're finished with him?
It'll be a big decision, to be honest, because I feel like they're going to beat us, maybe. And it'd be so Everton. Oh, we haven't won at the Amex for forever, but okay. Here comes Everton.
5-1 a couple years ago.
I know, but they're racist. Let me see here. I'm just still looking at what defender I can buy for 4.0. Michael Keane.
You could also just use the money to bring in, if you don't want to go with Gakpo, you could also sell Lewis and bring in Konate.
Or what, just double up on
Liverpool
defense? I don't trust their defense, to be honest.
Yeah, fair enough. So Gakpo is like the main guy you want to get then.
I feel like it.
Yeah.
It feels right. It's either him or Mateta, to be honest.
And you wouldn't sell Wood to get Gakpo instead?
I could do that. I very easily could do that.
Mm-hmm.
But, because like, how many goals does Gakpo have this season? 6 goals, 2 assists. Not the best, not the worst, but like his minutes are looking pretty naughty.
Yeah.
Should have had more points against West Ham because he subbed off in the 57th. God damn it. But this could be naughty. It just all depends. Because it feels like I'm going to bring in Gakpo and then it's Darwin Nunez who ends up getting all the points.
Like Brentford.
It'd be so typical. How much is Darwin? 7.0. Nah, he's 2. I'm only kidding.
Not worth it.
That's funny that they've added the manager like picture. I didn't see that. That's how it looks like.
Yeah. They have added all the assistant managers to the game now, so anyone watching can go check that out as well. All the managers are there. Maybe even Postecoglou, who might be getting sacked at some point. We'll see.
Yeah, what happens if you have a manager whilst they get sacked? Do they get have they said if it's like you get a replacement manager?
You basically, it's not really assistant managership. It's more like assistant team chip. Like if a manager gets sacked, you still keep that same team and the results. Okay. So yeah, doesn't matter.
That's cool.
So no worries in that regard in terms of the Ass.Man chip.
Okay, but
so you'd like to have a good Ass.Man.
Okay. Is there a way I can have Mateta, Gakpo? No. And
Isak.
yeah, that's what I'm. Because I really like the looks of Mateta as well. He's back to
Yeah,
R9 form.
it's looking too good. It's just a shame we picked up Sar because I probably would have picked Mateta if Sar wasn't in my squad already. I don't want to double up with Palace attack, but it is like a fair thing to do, especially like if you sell Sar eventually. You could bring in Mateta and then sell Sar for someone else. That's sort of what I'm looking to do with my own team, like selling Bruno Fernandes now and then bringing in Amad Diallo in a couple game weeks and do it like across a couple game weeks rather than doing like the
Yeah.
switch up.
Thing thing about United is they have all the. I still feel like all the chips are there for them to be successful. I really like Amarim. Of course, you can argue that some of his players aren't good enough for what he wants to achieve, and you could argue that some of these players basically are on the gravy train because they can't sell a lot of these players because no one's going to take their wages. So it's sort of
Mm-hmm.
like a really fucked situation. But I
They're
still
loaning out
think,
Anthony now, at least, so to
yeah,
Betis.
so I still think, like the Kobe Mainu, Bruno Fernandez, Amadia, like they have really good players. It's just
Mm-hmm.
that they have to start getting them to tick.
Yeah, not just in the big games.
No.
Yeah, so your transfer plans are still pending, trying to get in Gakpo somehow, and maybe potentially selling Fernandes to fund that. So yeah, I think those are decent plans as well. I think your team is looking pretty good. Your defense is looking pretty good. Ipswich at home for Trent, Man United at home for Robinson. Do you feel any like worries with that? We just talked about Man United and how they are struggling currently. Do you think Fulham have what it takes to keep a clean sheet, or potentially Robinson to get an assist in that game?
It's so funny because I felt that Man United robbed Fulham in the very first match because I believe it was a United 1-0 win against Fulham in their first ever Prem game of the season. And I felt that Fulham were so much better than they were. So I think this is one of the, I mean, he said this is one of the worst Man United teams lately. And
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely think that what I've seen of Fulham has looked good. Really annoying that Brother I Will Be isn't in my fantasy team. And Smith Rowe, who I used to have, is now like randomly showing up, and Raul Jimenez looks good. And yeah, so uh,
Robinson has been tremendous for you as well. Like he's helped you climb the ranks. I think it's like
yeah,
Robinson, Wood, and Gordon. Those have been like the main inform guys. Obviously on top of Isak and those guys. But yeah, the Robinson has been fantastic for you for a long time.
for sure.
But yeah, anyways, we'll see what happens with Kevin and what plans you execute. Let's move on to Kimo's current plans and his current team. And for him, I don't really have any transfers because I think he has a pretty damn good team for this game week as well. Even benching
Mhm.
Embuemo, who I'm currently looking to bring in myself potentially, because the other 7 attackers are really, really good here with Salah, Palmer, Gordon, Rogers, and then Isak, Wood, and Watkins as well. Watkins is looking like a pretty damn good pick now with the next 3 fixtures being really good fixtures. So yeah, Watkins is really good. Kirk is in defense as well, playing Nottingham Forest, which is not the best game, I guess. Robinson against Man United, also sort of a bit shaky. Gabriel against Arsenal. The one issue though, which is something that I haven't really addressed, is the lack of Liverpool players in general. No Trent Alexander-Arnold, no Konate, no Gakpo, no nothing. So yeah. Do you think you would do transfers to bring in for Ipswich now? Like probably a dumb question because you don't like Ipswich, but how would you bring in Liverpool players for this game week? Would you get Konate potentially? For who potentially in that case? Because he has 0.0 in the bank. Doesn't really have much to play with here. What would you do in Kimo's instance, do you think?
Wildcard.
No.
No, I was kidding. I think in terms of his team, and I like the cheeky stash of Mikolenko, so he does have some Everton love.
Mm.
I think it's just a question of who he has most belief in, because I understand the sort of walk-ins, love and etc. Even though he showed none of that last week, you loser, and I understand having Chris Wood and all this type of stuff, but I don't know. Is it worth shifting Gabriel for cheeky
Yeah,
cheeky bit?
Eventually,
for
they'll get some pretty good
Konate.
fixtures. So if you look at Arsenal's fixtures, they're like decent, or like they have some really good fixtures. City is a tough fixture in game 24, but that's a game where you can bench him for Mikolenko anyway, potentially. But I think you should start Gabriel in every game week. But Wolves isn't the worst fixture. Leicester away is really good. West Ham at home is really good, and then it gets a bit tougher fixtures after that. So yeah, I don't know. I think he's pretty good still.
Okay, sure, but if you take it from this game week until 28, you'd still argue that Liverpool have the better fixtures.
Yeah, for sure, definitely.
So I would say that maybe a downgrade of Gabriel to Konate could be a way to do it, and then that could also facilitate another move. Because what?
Yeah, potentially.
How much would Gabriel to Konate be, and how much would Chris Wood to Gakpo be, for example?
Yeah, Wood to Gakpo could be also the move to do here in general. So we're with the managers tab. Wood is 7.1 and Gakpo is 7.5, so it's 0.4 that he needs. So yeah, Gabriel to Konate would fund Gakpo in for Wood. So would you do that double transfer this week already, considering it is Ipswich at home?
Yes.
Yeah. So that would be
I
your
would
plans
also because long term, I think it would be good too.
Mm-hmm.
When does the Champions League start again? Because like they have Champions League football next week.
Yeah, but Liverpool already through, and they're not going to play in that first knockout stage either. So yeah, plenty of time. They do have that. I think in between the two double game week fixtures, they play the semi-final in the League Cup, where they're already down 1-0 against Spurs. So that will affect it a bit with the double game week, I think. But yeah.
But I mean,
still looking pretty good.
He is one of their workhorse, Gakpo, that is, and Konate. I used to love him because he used to do the business over Trent as well. So yeah,
he was good for your start of the season.
Yeah, so I can't say I love a Liverpool player, can I? But I think that's a viable way that he can do it going forward. It's just whether he'd want to in regards to that, because I understand the appeal of Chris Wood as a Chris Wood owner, and especially against, like, yes, they're playing Bournemouth away, but we were talking about two teams that are in form, so it could be like a massive shootout and all this type of stuff. So it could be really interesting. And yes, the games don't look like, what is Chris Wood's games again? If you go back to the fixture ticker,
not the best. Second bottom there.
Yeah,
Bournemouth away. Yeah. Brighton at home is good though. So like keeping him for 24 isn't the worst. But then Fulham away, tough fixture. Newcastle away, really tough. Arsenal at home, really tough. And then Man City at home, which they lost 3-0 against last time, even though City were in terrible form. So yeah, the fixtures are really bad, like for the long haul for Wood, but the next two aren't the worst either. So it is a bit of a risk, I guess, to do that move, but I think it's definitely merit to it as well, considering they do play Ipswich at home, which is fantastic, and then they play the double game week after that, and then they have Wolves at home. So yeah, that could definitely be the move if you want to use the two transfers, Kimo. But at the same time, also want to keep transfers for like the later game weeks, around game week 29, 30, 31, and that stuff. But there's still plenty of time to save those transfers up in 24, 25, 26, 27, because this team is looking pretty good for the future. I don't think there's many transfers to be made for the next few game weeks either. Like Mbeumo was someone that I would personally want to get in my own team pretty soon. Watkins is looking good for the next 3 fixtures. Rodgers as well with the same fixtures. And then Isak, Palmer, Salah is a given. Robinson and Kirk is really good long-term moves. Bednarek obviously is the one like sort of dud, but you don't really need to play him either. Mikolenko's good for the double. Sels is a really good goalkeeper. So yeah, even though the tough fixtures are making it a bit tough for Sels, but yeah, goalkeeper transfers are really no issue either. So yeah, I think Kimo's in a really good position, and I think, yeah, you could either choose to do the Liverpool swap, either if you want to do Gabriel to Konate only, if you have faith in Chris Wood for the next 2 fixtures, do both transfers if you have more faith in Gakpo, or potentially just standing pat and waiting for Gaming 24 with more information before you make the Liverpool moves, potentially. So yeah, I think that's pretty much the plans for Kimo, what he can do for this upcoming game week. Let's move on to the final piece of the podcast, which is the Manager of the Week, which again is not Gary Hendrick, but Gary Hendricks, who was the Manager of the Week last time we did the podcast. but it is the Polish person that we mentioned earlier with the name of Zbigniew Rezgo from Poland. So yeah, they actually have a really good team. I think as well, even though it is a bit strange. There is no Palmer here, but that's probably not the worst for this game week, seeing as Foden has Chelsea at home instead. As decent. Fernandes out could be a move for this person as well. Also interesting with the double Spurs players against Leicester at home, Pedro Porro against Leicester at home, and Kulusevski against Leicester at home. I think that's really interesting to have this game week. But yeah, what are your thoughts about this team? Also looking at it, if you can look up for a bit, Kevin, you'll see the team. Any moves that stick out to you? Any players that you would want to get rid of and stuff? Or what you think should be the plans for the manager of the week?
I mean, considering the fact that he has 0 Everton players as well, and he's just got Enzo's thinking of his team, and he still has 1.3 that he can mess around with. I think there's some obvious moves that he can do to sort of shore things up. It's a question of, I think getting rid of Bruno and Mazraoui is like an easy way of getting some double game week players, including Konate for Liverpool.
Luis Diaz, for example? We haven't talked about him. Do you
Yeah,
think
yeah,
he's like a viable
yeah.
option?
It's tough, right? My biggest issue is it's not the concern about Luis Diaz quality or anything like that. It's just the fact that he keeps getting rotated in and out of the team. So
Yeah.
he's just a bit of a question mark there. But I don't hate that double up. And, Havertz away against Wolves isn't the worst. He scored in the Champions League, I believe, as well. He was one of the 3 goal scorers. So I get the appeal of his team, and I actually think this is a really fun team, sort of differential team with like the Kulusevski and Foden picks and all this type of stuff. But I think he could easily get rid of a Bruno, potentially even get rid of Enzo as well, if he wants. Like, there's so many avenues where he can get back into getting the double ups and having more double game week players and stuff like that because the fixtures dictate it. So, yeah. Even if it's as simple as getting rid of like a Mazraoui for Mikolenko, which will also save him funds, and then potentially making Bruno Fernandes into one of these, world beaters in like a Luis Diaz, or potentially
Gabriel
getting
to Trent.
Gakpo in. Yeah, or even Gabriel to Trent, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think I would prioritize getting Liverpool players in general.
Of course.
Also has 2 expensive goalkeepers. Yeah, so it's not like the ideal team, but Gakpo for Wood is also an interesting thing for this team, I think. Whether it's this week or next game week, probably this week. I think that's a good transfer. Potentially also, yeah, I don't know. That seems like the main move for me. Gakpo or Wood to Gakpo. And then potentially doing a -4 to bring in Trent for a defender and downgrading Fernandes could also be the move. But yeah, interesting team in general, and going to be fun to see how they do going forward in the season as well. And like I said previously, if you also want to be manager of the week and be featured on the podcast, then you can join the FPL Scope Mini League with the league code hpxeri. And if you get the highest score in a particular game week, you'll get featured on the podcast. So with all that out of the way, we're done with the podcast, except for the one last thing that we usually do, and that is Kevin and his last word. Kevin is busy looking down, but I'm sure he'll look up and give us some wise words to end this podcast. So, Kevin, take it away.
Yeah, I think without getting into it too much, life's short. Make sure to show your love to the people that you have around you and keep them tight. And don't be afraid to show them emotions when you need to, just like how I did when David Moyes got us a win against Spurs. Take care.
Fair enough.